Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start to this nice Saturday rainy morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. Although we do have much to discuss for this next week, this next like 2-week period, I do suspect is going to be a very interesting one as we do see a lot of things kind of converge upon each other. So I wanted to bring today's analysis from a more statistical based narrative, go through I think 3 or 4 main charts right here, and talk about why this week is actually very, 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 very important from a statistical narrative. Anyways, without further ado, let's just jump into it right now. Perhaps I can quickly shill my good old Instagram. I've been uploading like a madman over there recently. There is a link in the description below. May or may not be for you. Anyways, let's just jump into this right here. Okay, so this was one of the big ones that we were focusing on for the past, I guess almost month now. This was the 2-day time frame signal. It was a volatility versus momentum signal, and volatility in this case was measured by BBWP. And anytime that we did see it get below 10 percentile, the expansion phase from those extreme lows has led to an average move of about 37.5%, done over the course very specifically of about 17.5 days, and the stochastic momentum oscillator has gone in the correct direction of that, actually better than about 81.82% of the time, because this one worked out yet again. So nicely done right there. Statistics, they either work out or they fucking don't. No, there's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics, as the good old saying goes. Anyways, just because it has a very, very high hit rate doesn't mean it's always going to be operating like that, of course, but in this case, you know, it did once again. So why am I bringing this up right now, and what do I want the focal point of this analysis to be? Well, the focal point of this analysis is that the average days, as you're going to see amongst many of these different charts, is postured around the same sort of time frame. So in this case, when we do look at this signal, could you argue that it has largely already played out? At least the very easy portion of this move has already played out. Maybe one more leg, but ultimately we're quite close. Well, let's play around with the numbers. From low to high thus far, we have seen, whoops, let me actually get this properly. That would be good. From low to high thus far, we have seen about a just over 30% move from when that signal was given earlier in the month of July. So is that in alignment with the average move right here of about 37.5%? Yeah, I would say so. On top of that, if we take the average days, well, thus far, we are at day number 24. The average days from the next high or low, based upon the signal right here, has been about 17.5 on average. So we are on the upper end of that. Now, of course, there's going to be some variance there, some a little bit higher, some a little bit lower, of course. And in this case, would this be relevant to say that, you know, we've probably seen the very overwhelming majority of this move already occur? Yeah, I do think so. On top of that, the 2-day time frame stochastic momentum oscillator will be closing tonight. The pivot is 22,800. If we see a closure below there, that would essentially nullify the signal, thus saying that, hey, that was it, time to take, or, you know, you probably already took your profits, assuming that you actually joined in that signal, which was a 30+% move, which can't get too fucking greedy, of course. But in this case, you know, I'll just kind of assume the, you know, the otherwise, and you can, you know, generally say that, hey, yeah, that would be it. So jumping into the next chart right on over here, keeping in mind, you know, these statistics that we just went over, let's go look at a chart that we actually haven't looked at in a long time. This is the volatility versus stochastic reversion chart. This was a chart that I brought out when it was relevant. This was in like June, actually, and it's actually still relevant right now. So what essentially is a signal? It's kind of like the opposite of the one that we just looked at earlier on a different time frame, that is as well. It's a 5-day time frame, and what I'm looking at is the contraction phases after what I consider extremes have been hit. So what do I consider as extreme? Well, anything above 80 percentile on this time frame. Contraction phase after that for volatility would be when the BBWP has a negative slope and is below the moving average. That's what constitutes a reversion phase. So in this case, I've gone through and backtested the full history of Bitcoin, as you can see. And I do want to note that there's a lot of variance in the days on this one, to be fair. There's actually just a lot of variance in this one in general. But if we were to average out these statistics for this signal, we have found that the average reversion granted that signal has been about 50, just under 54% from the actual like prior major low or high. The average days taken until that next high or low was about 30, just over 32 days. And then the stochastic momentum oscillator has gone in the correct direction, basically just under 91%. And what do you know, that number, that hit rate's going to go up yet again because this one, well, worked out. So in this case, why am I bringing this up? Well, the average reversion from that last major low of 50, basically 54%, have we already seen something, somewhat comparable to that? Thus far, we've seen from the current $17,500 low to the high of Bitcoin, about 42.5%. Is that relatable? I would argue yes, just because there is a lot of variance within this. So that would be certainly not out of the question. It's definitely within the ballpark is what I'm trying to say. The average days is what I'm most interested in right here, which is about 32.27. And from the signal given to where we're at right now is about 35 days actually. So 35 days on this one. Which, is pretty much in alignment with the average days, as you can see. So again, there's going to be some variances. There's going to be some that are higher, some that are lower, of course. In this case, it is saying caution that, again, we probably seen the strong majority of this signal. If there is to be one more leg up, it probably doesn't get, too much further than like 27-ish, let's say, as that would be kind of more in alignment with that 50% move. Anyways, moving on to the next chart right in over here. I wanted to bring up this chart yet again. This is the PMRP just the PMRP reversion chart. And this one's a lot more simplistic in it. Again, it's fully dialed back to the full history of Bitcoin, and the PMRP indicator measures the distance that price action is from current, the PMRP indicator measures the distance from the current user specified moving average, which I'm running a 20 VWMA with 100 look back on this particular analysis versus current price. And in this case, when we do see extreme lows, which I define as below 2 percentile, again where my cursor currently is right now, not the expansion phase, but the reversion play from those extreme lows over the full history of Bitcoin has been on average about 59%. So kind of similar to the last chart that we did see from that last major low. So you already know that data right there. Again, some good, of course, some good variance within that. And then the days again taken in this case from the actual low, $17,500 was 53.5 or so. And guess where that put us right now? Well, that would be next week actually would be around day number 53 to 56, as you can see right here. So starting to wrap that up right now. On top of that, if we go on to the next chart right on over here, we can analyze the weekly CME Stochastic historical levels, of which I'll blow this one up down here. Basically, the signal is anytime that we have seen the weekly stochastic momentum also to get down to where my cursor currently is right now, somewhere around there, reasonably close to it, or a little bit below it is all good. That's what we're looking for. The play from that region, the bounce from that region on average has been about 56.5%. Again, very much in alignment with all of the other signals that we've looked at thus far. So you already know these statistics that kind of align with that. The days till the next high in this case has been on average about basically 45. So if we take that from the actual signal itself to where we're at right now, where that essentially put us, or sorry, I'm not doing this properly. Let me actually get it right here. Boom. Okay. 49 days would be the third week of August. And obviously, well, that would put 42 days kind of like this next week of August. So again, it's probably looking sometime around this next week, statistically speaking, we probably do find the next local high in Bitcoin if we already haven't found it thus far. So of course, the main message of this particular video that I want to be having here is that, hey, while Bitcoin might have one more leg to the upside, again, if we do see a closure above the same pivots as before, all of the lower term timeframes are the same, by the way, which would be about $23,500 on a higher term timeframe closing basis, nothing less, then yes, I would be looking for maybe one more leg up towards like 26 to 27. But ultimately, and at least in my opinion, it's time to be a little bit more protective for the people who were, or at least for myself, who were kind of playing those signals off the lows right there, although, it's not the majority of my game to be fair, because we're probably going to be looking at a pullback relatively soon in this back half of August. So if we go over the charts over here, I do want to also be abundantly clear that even if Bitcoin does turn down from these regions, even if Bitcoin fails this current region right here below about 22.5, I wouldn't be looking for massively new lows. In fact, personally speaking, I wouldn't be looking for new lows at all. I would be looking for probably a retest, perhaps somewhere around the current lows. But ultimately, I'd be looking for a reset and then likely another try to the upside, probably in September, if I had to garner a guess right there. Anyways, other than that, I think this is a good place to probably leave off on this video. Just kind of wanted to get that information out there. from a statistical narrative. Also, I did want to point this out as well. The global open interest, we did see it kind of pop up. I wouldn't say this is extreme or anything like that, but I'm looking for it to, once again, base on the lower end of this, probably somewhere between 7.5 to 8 billion marker is going to be indicative of the next sort of, hopefully for the Boo Law's case, high or low. If that does fail, then obviously it's a long way fucking down, of course. But in this case, again, even though I do think that Bitcoin probably is getting ready for a pullback relatively soon, I don't think that Bitcoin is going to be making new lows, or at least not significantly new lows. I do think like 20-ish, let's say, would kind of make sense. But I think that'll do it for right now. I want to be wishing you the best of the best yet again. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.